it's Malavika here. Lovely to see you.
So it's that time of year when people who are thinking of applying to medical school are planning to take their UCAT in between the next 1 or 2 months. So this video is for you guys. These are some helpful tips that helped me prepare last year when I sat the UCAT in the 2020 cycle, even though I didn't actually end up applying to medical school. I've had a couple of people ask me for tips, so I thought why not share the knowledge that I gained through the experience. So the UCAT stands for the University Clinical Aptitude Test and is a cognitive ability test used by all medical schools in the UK, some in Australia and some in New Zealand, I think, as well. The UCAT consists of 5 sections: verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, decision making, abstract reasoning, and situational judgment. The first 4 of which are determined out of a score of 900, and for situational judgment you're giving a band from 1 to 4, 1 being the best. Last year I sat my UCAT on September 29th, which was almost the very end of the actual sitting of the year. Most people sit theirs in about August, so before they go back to school or when they go back to school after the summer holidays into their last year. I use Medify, that website, paid website, which I found really useful. Obviously some people like to use books, some people get a tutor. It's up to you, to be honest. You can do all sorts of things. So using Medify, I got it about June, I think, and worked at between 1 to 100 questions per day, not very regularly from June to August. So I was doing, like, some days I was doing 20, some days I was doing none. It just depended, I guess. I wasn't really taking it that seriously at the time. And then from August, so end of August, about a month before my actual UCAT, I started doing timed questions. Before that, I'd say just focus on the accuracy. Focus your efforts on getting the questions right rather than the timing. The timing will come with practice because this exam is all about practice. It's a habitual thing. Yeah, make sure the accuracy is there before you worry about the timing of each section. So between 6 weeks to a month before, I suggest getting into timed questions. At first, your timing will be off. You will be missing so many questions. You'll be flagging some, skipping some, but don't worry too much about it. Again, just focus on getting them right and then getting used to the types of questions asked. I'd say that's definitely a big thing, because the same types of questions will come up over and over and again, and you will recognise them as they do. So make sure that you are looking out for similar questions, especially in abstract reasoning. Go through the list of shape, pattern, number of sides, all sorts of things. The 2 weeks before my actual UCAT test date, I made sure to do a mock every single day, which was the most useful thing, I think. That was so helpful, just getting myself into sitting. So after I finished my day of school, came home, had like some tea, and then I'd sit down for a solid 2 hours just doing a mock every day. And some of mine would be like 2,500, some would be about 2,900, but like I wasn't too bothered. Some days you're kind of disappointed, you're like, oh okay, I should have done better than that, but on the whole they're just mocks again, and you know that doing the 2 weeks of mocks should give you an idea of where your average score lies. I chose last year to sit my UCAT at home because we had the option due to COVID. This year I'm not quite sure it's the same. I think it's test centres and you have to wear masks, but last year I chose to do it at home and it went so well actually. I just thought it was another mock, it went great, and I really don't think I would have gotten such a high score if I hadn't taken it in a comfortable environment on a device that I'd practiced on in the same room. It was just good. But what are you here for? You're here for UCAT tips. So mocks in the 2 weeks before, I'd say, is the most valuable tip. Please do that. I also tried to diversify my revision techniques. So I used Medify for quite a lot. I did timed questions, I did non-timed questions, I did sections specifically. Some days I just did a mix. Most days I did a mix actually. I found listening to podcasts really helpful actually on Spotify, and also watching YouTube videos, especially from Ali Abdal and Karma Medic. He was great. And they do quite a few videos where they'll focus on a specific section and run through questions. So I just pause them, try and figure out where the pattern was, especially in abstract reasoning and then play it, see if I got it right within the time. So yeah, focus on the sections as well that you're struggling with. For me, that was abstract reasoning and quantitative reasoning. My final score didn't reflect that, but yeah, in the mocks, that was where I was struggling most. Really pinpoint areas which you're finding difficult and just work at them. The more questions you do, the more you'll be able to find which sections you find hardest and focus your revision on them. So for me, that was abstract reasoning, quantitative reasoning, and situational judgment. Situational judgment especially is a section that you can very much improve on if you read the 10 Pillars of Medicine, you read about them, like the British Medical Journal, you can find online. And it was just, again, the questions keep coming up and it's the most sensible answer, I guess. I found it quite hard at the start, but the more revision you do and the more feedback you get as well, Medify is quite good for that, then you can see which answer they want you to give. So that's the point of situational judgment. You just have to give them an answer that you think doctors think is right. Another thing that I'd say is get used to the UCAT calculator and arrows on the keyboard as well. You'll be using the arrows in the test center and you can use the arrows on the keyboard there for flagging a question. You can press like Ctrl F, I think. There's a keyboard shortcut for that. For flagging, there's a keyboard shortcut for going to the next question, for going to the previous question. So definitely get used to that. Just be quick. It's all about timing. Even though I said don't worry about the timing, you kind of do. As soon as you get closer to the actual exam, yeah, you need to be focused on timing. Just flag and move on. That's definitely a key point. If you can't think of an answer, flag, move on, and then come back to it at the end if you have time. Just focus on getting every question right, because the ones that are harder and the ones that are easier are each worth a point. There's no difference. So you just have to get through the easy ones first and then come back to the hard ones if you have time later. But they're all worth the same amount. For verbal reasoning, I've seen quite a few people say to look at the questions before looking at the passage. I find the opposite easier. I find skimming the passage just to get the general gist of the information that's there and then looking at the question. I thought that was more useful in my case, but again, it does really depend on the person. So I think definitely take things you hear with a pinch of salt. Yeah, take this video with a pinch of salt, honestly. Have some doubt and just tailor your revision methods to yourself. You will know, as the more and more you study for the UCAT, you'll know which techniques work better for you, what sections you struggle with more. It's all about just learning about your response to your method of revision. And please avoid burnout, seriously. It's so easy to just get stressed out by the UCAT because it is such a deciding factor in your uni applications, but just avoid being burnt out by it all. If you do just feel exhausted and you're not enjoying it and you're getting all the questions wrong, I'd say just take a solid 2 days away from your UCAT studying, from your study space, just relax, spend time with your family, your friends, go out for a meal, and then come back rejuvenated after that 2 days, after you've slept more, after you've eaten properly, and start afresh. One thing that really shifted my mindset when I was stressing about the UCAT was just thinking of it as like a logic game, I guess. I just started having fun with the questions. Yeah, it was just like a maths class. Decision making especially, I was like, this is so fun. It's just like a puzzle. And just not seeing it as an exam, just seeing it as another way to train your brain in a different way from the usual SQA exams, AQA exams. I thought it was really mentally stimulating, actually. I'm glad I did it, even though I didn't end up applying for medicine. It was really good for just making my brain adapt to different ways of thinking. And the score gave me a bit of an ego boost, so I'll take it. So yeah, this was a short, I'm not quite sure, but hopefully sweet way of giving you guys some advice on taking your UCAT. I wish you all the best with your UCAT, your personal statement, and your medical school, dentistry, or veterinary applications. Best of luck!